From the home page, I can either choose to select the menu icon and scroll to the bottom where the word admin will differentiate between the user and admin functions. Or on the home page, I can choose to click the word admin. As with the user home page, I can choose to have an interactive view or one that mimics the menu in the top left hand corner. On either view, when you select one that has a folder image, such as user settings and phones and extensions, or any of the drop-down menus on this particular view, you'll be provided with additional sub-menus. We will start within the user settings and user accounts. The user accounts page allows us to search for individual users on the platform, either by first name or last name, by their permissions user group, by their current status, or their location. Leaving these fields blank and hitting search will bring up all user accounts. I can then see from this page here the relevant information for each user, and by selecting the settings cog, I can choose to go in and review and edit the information. The information will appear either as free type field boxes, such as the first name and last name here, as drop-down menus, as seen by the domain name list for email addresses, or as yes/no sliders that work in the same way as tick boxes. Once changes have been made, I simply hit update to save those changes. In addition, it will show any teams or departments that person is a member of, if they work within the contact centre, what their hierarchy is, and any additional numbers that have been added to the platform. If at any point you're unsure what permission level somebody has, clicking View Permissions will show you exactly what they have access to, either as an allow, read only, or its absence. Next, within the user settings section is teams and departments. In here you can set up teams and departments that will be referenced in instant messaging, reporting, and the company directory. To add a new contact, I simply hit plus in the bottom left hand corner, or to edit, I can hit the settings cog. Finally, in allowed emails, this shows all the domain names that are currently allowed to be used for user accounts. User accounts must be logged in using an email address. These can be deleted, can be changed so there is a new primary connection to a particular domain when new users are being set up, or I can use the plus button to create a new domain. This plus button is also available on the user accounts page, and for setting up new users is a case of completing the relevant fields and hitting next to complete the process. When going through this process, you may create new extension numbers or associate them with existing extension numbers. From here, we'll go to our next section, which is phones and extensions. In the phones page, we'll provide with information about all the endpoints on your platform. It will show you the phone model, the MAC address if one exists, the current location, the extension number, the name of that extension, whether the current device or endpoint is online or offline. If available, it will also show you the IP address. It will show you if a endpoint is currently in a live call. And it will also let you to see which devices are denoted to be hot desks. If a device is allowed to be, and usually this is maintained just by physical hardware such as Polycom handsets, I can click the word assign next to the extension number in this field here, which will make it a hot desk phone that can be used. If I want to search through the results, I can do so. If I wish to filter the results by a particular variable, I can do so as well. And I can also download this information as a CSV file. The extensions page provides similar information where it shows an extension number, name, DDI number, the dial plan, what type of calls can be made by this extension number, which user the extension number is assigned to, again the phone model, the site, and which device are currently in a call. If I select the button to the left of any of these extension numbers, it shows you some further information about their current pickup group, caller ID, voicemail, whether voicemails are stored on the physical device, whether voicemails are sent via email to anybody, the MAC address, and whether the extension appears in the company directory when searched. Again, in here I can choose to search, filter, or download the results. The page most frequently used, however, under phones and extensions is extension editing. In here, again, I can choose to search by a number of factors, and by hitting search, I can bring up all the extensions on the platform. It is in here you'll be able to add or edit extension numbers. For example, if we go to the extension here, 3004, and hit the settings cog, I will present you with information about the extension. I can choose to rename the extension. I can choose to associate the extension with a different user or even multiple users. I can change the site, the outbound dial plans, which restrict what type of calls can be made. I can choose to assign a caller ID. I can choose to block the caller ID entirely. Override the ring time before the extension will go to voicemail or overflow to other locations. And again, choose to whether I want to include this extension in the company directory. Further down, I can see which device is associated. For a physical device, it will be here you'll see the MAC address. If I want to change the phone type or the MAC address it's associated with on this extension number, I simply click the black X here to remove and choose a new item from the drop down menu. I can also choose to add to a pickup group in here. I can choose to enable auto start of video if I think that is relevant to this particular extension number, and also see some information about the extension number is currently status. Next, I can choose to edit the voicemail settings for this particular extension number, whether voicemail is turned on or off, how much time I wish to leave it before it goes to voicemail, the voicemail PIN number, whether voicemails are stored on both the phone and the portal, and whether I want voicemails to be emailed to an email address. In here, I can also choose what happens if someone calls the extension number, where it next routes to. I'm going to have it route to a ring group, such as the support team. And finally, I can also turn on or off call recording as required. If I need to search, filter, sort, or add new extensions, that can be done at the bottom of the page in the left hand corner. From here, we'll move on to Ring Group Admin. Ring groups, or sometimes known as hunt groups, is when a particular extension number or DDI is set to ring on multiple extensions at once. Here we will see the internal extension number of the ring group, its current name, the ring time, what will happen if it's not answered within that set period of time, and whether the ring group should pay attention to when handsets have call forwarding enabled or not. To look at this in more detail, we select More on the right hand side, and in here we can see there is an extension number of 2090, but also an external number that are due to ring. We can then choose to add additional internal extension numbers from the drop down list, followed by hitting plus. And we can also choose to add additional external numbers to this ring group as well. If we wish to remove an item from the list, simply click the black X next to the particular entry you wish to remove. On the right hand side, we have options for renaming the ring group, changing the ring strategy from ring simultaneous to ring in order. When set to ring in order, you have options here to move items up or down the list, and also alter their individual ring times on per item in the list. We can choose to change the overall ring time, and also where this will go if not answered within 20 seconds. We can choose from all the multiple options that are available here. Depending on the option you choose, you'll have an additional option here for where that will reside. For example, we have chosen voicemail, we can choose on which voicemail box we want to leave the message. If we choose extension, which extension do we wish it to ring next? The redirects relates to whether call forwarding has been enabled on the Polycom handsets and whether the system should take this into account when routing calls. If it is set to ignore, then it will ring 2090 as originally anticipated. If do not ignore is enabled and call forwarding is set up on 2090 to go to somebody's mobile number or different destination, then the ring group will take this into account when routing the call. For caller ID and overflow caller ID, these relate to what will appear on the physical screen of the Polycom desk phone in front of you. If we enter support team into here, when a call comes into the ring group, as well as showing the number, it will show the words support team. If in here we put overflow support, this is what the extension of 4004 will see on their screen when they receive these calls. We can look at any current DDIs or any spare DDIs that could be assigned to this ring group. We can also choose to search, sort, or add new ring groups. Next, we go to Pickup Group Admin. A pickup group denotes which users can pick up other users' calls when their phone is ringing. To pick up a call, you simply press *8 on your Polycom handset and lift up the receiver, as if you were making a normal phone call. The pickup team will then define which assets or extension numbers you can pick up calls for. I can choose to remove them, clicking the black X in the list here, or choose to click an item here and then the add button. Again, I can choose to search, sort, or add new pickup groups from the options available here. The on-phone directory and voice menus will be retired in due course, so do not worry too much about these. Phone reboots gives the people with the relevant permission the opportunity to reboot any physical handsets on the network. For example, if you have renamed a user and an extension number, you can come into here and choose to remotely reboot a handset if you have work on a large site or multiple sites. We'll go next to the contact center. The contact center functionality is only available to those that have a Touch Technology contact center license. If you have the license, the option will appear. We'll start with queue management. Queue management shows you any call center queues that are currently set up. You can choose to rename them, and also some headline information about their current activity. By selecting the settings cog, I can look at some more details. I can choose to alter the call strategy from the options that are available. I can choose to change the ring time, the wrap-up time, which refers to the amount of time the agent will be taken out of the loop for next calls that are received, and also choose to record calls. There's an option here for auto answer, which means that as soon as a call is presented to an agent, the handset will ring once and then automatically answer the call on their behalf. And also an option to enable or disable the missed calls emails. This allows you to differentiate between calls that go to somebody's individual extension number and their personal preference there, and as a contact center administrator, what your preference is for the entire queue. You may set daily KPIs and targets on the right hand side. And you may also look at in-queue announcements. You can choose to announce a caller's position in the queue and choose how often you wish to hear that message. You can also choose to announce how much the wait time is expected to be. This is taken by looking at the current traffic for that particular day and doing an algorithm to provide a time to the caller. If, however, you wish to play a custom message, move the slider to yes, choose the file that has been saved on your system, and choose the frequency of the announcement. You may also allow the caller to break out of the queue and request a callback. To do so, enable yes, choose which key you wish to enable, and what email address you wish to have the voicemail left on. This means that all voicemails are voicemail to email only and are not stored in an individual voicemail box. We can then look at this particular queue, which agents are assigned, and choose to change their priority. We can choose to add additional agents, remove agents, or also change the routing of the calls from a numerical value to based on skill set. If done by skill set, you can choose which skill set is most important for this particular queue. We will cover off shortly how to set up queue skills. And finally, there is the option to auto pause if an agent misses a call. This means if an agent is unable to answer a call, they are automatically placed into a pause mode, so they will not miss further calls. Upon their return, they will need to access their agent dashboard page and place themselves off unpause, so they continue to consume calls on that queue. From here, we'll navigate back to the menu button and go to Agent Management. This page will show you all of the agents that are set up within your contact center, regardless of their queue. You will see the information for the user's name, their level in the hierarchy, their location, and what queues they are currently a member of. As well as providing you options here that show you the current status of the agent, by selecting the word join, I can choose to add that agent to the queue. In addition, if they're currently in the queue, I have the options to pause them or make them leave the queue. If I wish to delete an agent, I can choose to do that here. If I wish to delete the user and disable their user account, I can do that from in here as well. Or I can select the settings cog to look at some more settings. In here, I can choose to change their hierarchy in terms of who they report to. I can choose to limit which extension numbers on their account they are allowed to sign into queues with. For example, they may have added a personal mobile number for their general day-to-day use of the telephony platform, but as an administrator, you may choose to not allow them to join the queue from their personal mobile for a variety of reasons. In addition, it is in here I can choose an agent's skill level in their finance or technical skills. This list is not defined as always financial and technical. We'll show you how to add and edit these options in due course. Again, I can choose to search, filter, or add additional agents in the bottom left-hand corner. From contact center settings, I can choose to define the pause reasons on the agent dashboard, the agent skills that we rate them from, or the call tags for outbound calls. Again, these can simply be added by typing something into the field and hitting the green tick, and can be removed by hitting the black X. And finally, we have queue routing. Queue routing is the highest level in the hierarchy of calls. In here, you'll see a name of a queue and an extension number, any associated DDIs, or the option to add additional DDIs, the option to name the queue, give it an extension number, choose to have ringing or music for the outside caller, the option to add an audible whisper in the agent's ear when a call is answered, and in the bottom section here we are defining which queues will be rung when somebody calls 3031 or any DDIs. We choose the queue, what caller ID we want the queue to have. This mimics the behaviour of the ring group admin we covered a short while ago. The duration we want it to ring on that queue for, and the option to add or remove additional queues. We can then also say what we want to happen when it has reached the full duration of all the options that are listed, and again can choose from multiple different options as to where we want that call to route to. If we wish to create new routing for queues, you simply hit the add route in the bottom left hand corner. From here, we'll return to the normal features that are available to all administrators, starting with audio conferencing. In audio conferencing, we can see all of the conference rooms that are set up on the platform. It provides presence information to show the current availability and use of all conference rooms, the name of any conference rooms that have been set up, the current URLs for the screen sharing and other elements that are discussed in the user video, the current extension number, and the current PIN number. For any conference room, I can choose to select settings, look at the settings that have been set up by the user and edit those as accordingly, including advanced settings. And I can also look to see who has access to this conference room, either by removing them, hitting the black X, or adding additional users who have access to this conference room by choosing them from the drop down menu and hitting plus. We can also then see any current DDIs that are associated and the option to add additional, and whether this conference room appears in the company directory. The participants section at the bottom will show you anyone that is currently using that conference room. In the bottom left hand corner, we can choose to search, sort, filter, create newer conference rooms, or click the I for information about this page. We will now move on to numbers and routing. Numbers and routing refers to mostly external numbers that are used in regards to Touch Technology service. We begin with caller ID numbers. These are numbers that have been provided by administrators for all end users to use as their caller ID. As standard, end users will have any number included in here and their DDI. So if, for example, there is an 08 number or 03 number that you wish to provide to end users to use as caller ID, I can simply select the plus button and add a new entry. I can remove any entries from in here, and user will simply default to their DDI. I can choose to search for the results, or also use the information button. Next is number routing. Number routing is all about the external DDI numbers on the platform. This will provide a list of all external DDI numbers. In here, we can see the current numbers, their area code, when they were last edited, and if they are currently routed anywhere. By selecting more, I get some additional options. I can choose to enact public holiday routing, and if so, which bank holidays I wish it to pay attention to. On the bank holidays that are publicly available and publicly known for that territory, I can choose if I want to route the calls to a separate location to normal. For example, may go directly to voicemail. In addition, I can choose to use time-based routing, predominantly used for out-of-hours routing when the office is closed. So for example, on Monday to Friday, between midnight and 8:59, I may choose for all calls to go to voicemail. I can then choose to add an additional option, again saying Monday to Friday, from 1700 to midnight. This will mean that between the midnight and 08:59 and between 5 o'clock and midnight, all calls will automatically go to voicemail, whereas at all other times it will ring on my extension as I anticipate it and desire it to do so. In addition, I may have one-off events I want to have override routing for. I can choose to add a particular month, particular dates, a particular time, and potentially even repeating weekdays to have special routing. Is also in here, we will link the DDI to a set location. This is important as this is the postcode that will appear when the emergency services are called. If you wish to search for the DDI numbers that are on the list, or choose to filter them, there are options for these in the bottom left hand corner. From here, we'll return to the menu and go to public holidays. In the number routing page, we saw these two options that were available. We can choose to edit the bank holidays, or at least list them to see what they are. And in addition, can add additional public bank holidays. This is to be flexible for international requirements, and also to add specific ones such as Northern Ireland, Scotland, or England and Wales. Once one has been added, I can choose to add the dates and give the reason for that date as well. Next, we'll look at blocked numbers. These are numbers that have been added to a blacklist and are unable to return calls back to the company. For example, if you have nuisance sales callers, or just nuisance callers in general, you can choose to click the plus button, add their number, and a reason for their blocking. It will then add the date automatically, and provide an action where I can choose to remove them from the blacklist should they have been put on there for the wrong reason. I also have the option to search through those blocked numbers. The IVR menu provides you access to create and edit IVRs, also known as auto attendants. Here we can see the extension number, the name, and any associated DDI numbers on this particular IVR. To edit, I can click the settings cog on the right hand side. Once in here, I can look at what recording file is being used. I can choose to listen back to that recording file on any of these extensions, or to download it. It will show any current DDIs. They can be removed by clicking the black X. I can add additional DDIs if some are available. And I have some options about how the IVR will work. If the option for none is selected, then this is simply going to use the IVR as a way of playing a pre-recorded message, such as your calls are being recorded. Once it has played the audio message, you can choose where you want it to onwards route to. Next is a traditional menu IVR. In here we can denote what will happen when there are certain key presses by the caller. For example, option 0 is going to the queue for customer service, option 1 is going for the queue for service desk, etc. All of these are editable by clicking the drop down menu and choosing what type of endpoint I wish to point it towards. And based on the selection in the top drop down menu, I then get additional options in the bottom drop down menu. At the bottom I have options for hash and star, and also what happens if someone presses an invalid or unallocated key. Finally, an auto attendant can be used to allow callers to type in the extension number, conference room number, or ring group number of the people or persons they wish to get in contact with. Again, if no keys are selected, you can choose where you want those calls to be terminated to. In the bottom left hand corner, you have the options to search, sort, and create new IVRs. Before creating a new IVR, you will need to go to the IVR recording section and upload your recording. It's to this page we will now navigate. IVR recordings are sound files that can be used for IVR auto attendants. When you first enter, it will show you some generic messages that don't relate specifically to IVRs. What you will need to do, therefore, is click the plus button, give your recording a name, and either choose to record your IVR greeting from one of your extension numbers, or choose to upload the file. This must be in .wav format. We'll move on to the next item in the menu, Documents. In Documents, we may upload handset guides, your solution design document outlining how your system is to be built, or any other document that you or Intercity feel is relevant or required. Invoices similarly provides a list of any invoices that were provided to your company. Therefore, we move on to Monitoring and Reporting. Monitoring and Reporting offers a number of features and a number of reports. Some of these will be used more frequently than others. In addition, some of these are specifically contact center only. As we choose to go through this list, we'll make it clear which of these are for contact center and which of these are standard reporting mechanisms. First in monitoring and reporting is usage status. Usage status gives you the highest level reporting on your platform. This shows total numbers of users, total active calls, call usage for the current calendar month, the current health of the platform, information about your current phones and their current status, the number of conference rooms you have, some initial reporting about longest calls and most frequently called numbers, a list of other extension numbers and assets, and also information about the current storage usage for call recording. Next, we have real-time queue monitoring. This is only available to contact center users. This page will provide an overview of the current status of the contact center. The headline will show information about calls and agents. Next, we'll see information about the queue itself. And when there are live calls active, there will be an option here to listen in to active calls. Please note the listen in functionality also allows you to speak to the end user. Therefore, we would advise, if you intend to use it as a true listen in function, that you place yourself on mute when you join the call. From here, we will go to Quick Reports. This provides a more limited number of reports that are about quantitative information. You can choose to have the results cumulative, to include weekends, to choose a particular aesthetic approach, and also a chart type. This will report on the entire platform, and not just on an individual user, or group, or team or department. For more detailed reports, we'll need to use call reporting. We can access this by clicking the link at the bottom, or as always by selecting the menu on the left hand side. Call reporting is the main reporting mechanism that our customers tend to use. Call reporting allows us to run a variety of different reports. We can choose to focus on an individual user, a team or department, and then choose to automatically add those teams, the users from that team or department. Report on the entire site. For contact center users, we can choose to look at inbound queues, particular agents, or call tag reasons. We can break the data down by calls or agents, and also choose to include the KPIs that we set at a queue level. For both queues and standard users, we can then choose to add a date range and time parameters. Choose how we want the data to be broken down, either by minutes or by day, month or year. We may look at call types, call dispositions, the direction and nature of the calls, where we're including conference calls, and choose to search for particular caller IDs associated with ring groups or queues, or even specific phone numbers. Once a report has been set up, you can select Next and can choose to have an interactive graph, an Excel document, or a more detailed Excel document. The difference between the latter two is the first option will provide you headline information about a particular user. For example, it will mention that Andrew Eustace has had 10 phone calls on a given date and that 10 calls were answered and a total talk time and average wait time. The itemised call report, as well as providing the same information, will then list the 10 individual phone calls and show their individual wait time and total talk time. Once you've created a report you are happy with, you can then choose to schedule that report. You can do this by clicking Schedule Reporting here. This provides you the option to name your report, detail who is to receive it, what the email subject and body will be, the format and what the title on the actual document will be, and also how frequently you want that report to be delivered, either hourly, daily, weekly, once a month, or just once in general. You then begin your start date and your end date. Once you hit save, this will save the automated report and can be reviewed by scrolling down and going to scheduled reports. Any scheduled reports will appear here for further editing at a later date. They can also be searched and filtered upon. Next we go to Agent Log, which is purely for contact center users. This will allow us to run a report on a particular agent on a particular date and then generate a report which will show us on the screen every time they logged into a queue, every time they logged out of a queue, their pause reasons, and any calls they made or received that day. Next, we have call recordings. When we arrive at the call recording page, we'll be greeted by this pop-up. It will allow us to search by extension, user or agent, or particular queue for the call recordings we are interested in. For the purpose of this demonstration, we'll search for extension 2078. We can also choose a specific date and time parameter. For example, we will search here for the last 24 hours. I will then hit Get Recordings, which goes to do a search to find any relevant call recordings for the period and extension we've searched for. This has found 3 entries. From here, I can choose to playback, pause, delete, or download an individual recording. Equally, I can tick the boxes as appropriate and do bulk download or bulk delete. As with other pages, there are options here to filter and search for results. From here, we move on to the next reporting section, which is called Detail Records. Call Detail Records provide an itemised view of all activity on the platform. It will show date and time information, the number of the caller, where the call was from and to, the outcome, the ring time, the talk time, and some information about the actual activity. All of this can be searched, downloaded, altered for the time zone, and information brought up about this. Next, we have call volumes. This provides you an overview of the current volume of calls compared to other days, other weeks, and the like.